Okay. Hi, I'm Tiffany Patterson with Tiffany Michelle and Co. and Black Business Minded Women. And I'm here today with Jessica McLean of K. Dot Coaching. K. Dot Coaching, right?
Yes.
Jessica is a life coach and a wholeness expert. And she's going to be at the BBMW Accelerate 2020 Virtual Summit. And so I'm going to let Jessica tell you a little bit more about what she does. Hey,
Okay.
Jessica.
Hi. Thanks for having me. This is exciting.
Yes.
I am, like you said, a life coach and wholeness expert. And what that really means is that I work with successful Black women, especially successful Black women entrepreneurs who have goals that they want to achieve and they are tired of being in the rut of sabotaging themselves. So maybe they're getting their money right, but their health is not where they want it to be, or maybe they have where they're at in their finances is great, but where they want to get to is significantly higher. And they're like, what's in the gap? Like, why have I been stuck at this same, like, why do I have the same New Year's resolution every year? Why have I been making the same amount of money every month or the same amount of money every year? Why am I stuck in this one spot in my health, in my relationships, whatever? Because what happens is what I found is that whatever your problem is, if it's a money problem, a relationship problem, whatever it is, it's not really what you think it is. It's something else underneath it that's manifesting as a money problem. And so I actually used to be a financial coach and I focused specifically on finances and money mindset. And what I discovered is the problems that were manifesting as money problems were always something deeper than that. So now what I do is I help women become a whole person, because when you become a whole person and you get the 4 sort of pillars of your life right, money starts manifesting, free houses start manifesting, money pops up overnight, your relationships are better, you're happier, you're sleeping better, you have better relationships with your man, with your kids. Like people, when I like my clients, literally, I'm like, who are you?
Wow.
Who are you? Like, I don't even know who you are. This is crazy. So really, I started out coaching about money and discovered that really what I do is I help women become a whole person so that your whole life improves.
Wow. Wonderful. So, okay. So, all right. So wait a minute. There's so much here. Okay. So, right. So you started off focusing in on helping women like with their finances and money, right?
Yes. Yes.
But then you realized that there were more problems like at the root, like this internal.
Yes.
Okay. And so you started helping them get over those issues, those blockages, so that they can make more money and improve their whole entire life.
Yes.
Wow. So let me just ask you this.
Yes.
So when someone comes to you, are they coming because of the problem, or are they saying I need help making money, or they're saying I need my mindset change? You know what I mean? Like, do people know, or are like, why do people normally first come to you? And like, because I know sometimes there's a shift, right?
Right.
Like okay.
Right. This is a great question. So basically, women come to me when they know that they need support getting to the next level in their life. So they might know what to do, but they're not doing it. Right. Mm-hmm. And generally, because I work with entrepreneurs, that's in their business and their money. So I have women come to me who say, Jessica, I have these financial goals. And it might not be, Jessica, I'm broke. Right. But it's, Jessica, my goal is to become a millionaire by the end of X date. But the gap between where I am and becoming a millionaire is pretty significant, or I know what I need to do, but getting myself the motivation to execute every single day feels like a struggle for me. And so I'm like, okay, so they're like, oh, I need accountability, or I need the right strategy, or I know that I need to work on my mindset, but I can't seem to successfully get there on my own. And I'm like, oh, okay. So let's talk about your money problem. And then we talk about their money problem. And it turns out that actually it's a relationship problem. Like, you wouldn't think that your money problem is your man, but it might be. Yeah. Okay. Like, you might not think your money problem is that you go to bed too late, but it might be. And like, that's the type of stuff that I'm like, you would think that your money problem is a money problem. It's not a money problem, or that your business problem is a business problem. It's not a business problem. And so what I do, I'm like a mechanic. Like, you know, you go to the dealership or whatever, and you're like, my car is making a weird sound. And the mechanic is like, oh, it's this, it's that, it's this, it's that. That's what I do. So you might think it's one thing, and then we get started talking, and I'm like, oh, okay. So what's that really about? Oh, okay. So it's your relationship. Oh, okay. It's something that happened to you when you were 5. Let's talk about your inner child right quick. And so then we have conversations like that. And I mean, when we have those kinds of conversations, I had somebody manifest $10,000 in 30 minutes. Like, that's the kind of flow you can create when you uncover the real problem and you get that unblocked. So yes.
Wow. Yes. So let me ask you one more question, because I know this is like totally, but this is so interesting to me. So like, if someone has, so like, let's say someone has like a money block, like I have a money block right now. Yeah. And not me, I don't have that shouldn't be saying that, but just say someone else. Not, I don't want to bring that kind of energy to me.
No, definitely not. You are in the flow all the time.
Exactly. I'm flowing.
Girl. Yes, you are. So, money is always flowing to you, and from expected and unexpected sources. Yes.
So let's say someone had like a money issue or some kind of blockage, and you help them.
Yes.
Once you help someone once with like a block, do they pop up? Is it like an addiction type of thing? You know how addiction was like, you get rid of one thing, like, okay, I have a food addiction, so then you take care of that, but then you're like, dang, well now I have this another addiction. Give me a second. Just different. Does it pop up in different places?
This is a great question. So what I find is actually, have you ever seen like a ball of yarn or like a ball made out of rubber bands where it's like one on top of another on top of another? Right. That's essentially what it's like. So when we start with the money problem and we sort of pull off the rubber band of the money problem, there's a whole bunch of other ones, and we have to take each one off. You know what I'm saying? Which is why like people can't be like, oh, you can fix me in an hour. Like, no, like magic can happen in an hour, but that will not be sufficient to fix your whole life, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? So like one client, for example, she is working on some pretty amazing financial goals in her business, which is really exciting. But she was like, why have we spent 6 weeks talking about my feelings? And I'm like, well, let's think about why we spent 6 weeks talking about your feelings, because your relationship with your parents is better. Your relationship with your friends are now better. Your mental health is better. Your physical health is better. You are more confident. You're happy. You feel beautiful for the first time in like 20 years, right? And now, last time we had a conversation about sales, you were like, oh my gosh, I feel so empowered. That's why, right? So you think that like you're just struggling with sales, and your problem with sales is you can't find a good salesperson, but your problem with sales isn't that you can't find a good salesperson. It's that you have an internal block around sales. And so because of that internal block around sales, you're not able to find the right person, because you can't manifest the right person because you are blocking yourself. So you don't even realize like internally, subconsciously, what you're creating in your life. And so I'm going to go in and I'm going to be like, okay, let's take off this thing. Okay, now that we've fixed that, let's take out, now we have another thing that we need to uncover and another thing we need to uncover. Like if you just think about like all of the different blocks people have around money, they're all wrapped up together and they have a root, right? Like deep underneath everything, they have a root, but on top of the root, it's like, it's all of these other things that have come on top of it. So that it's something that happened to you when you were 5, but then there was something else that happened when you were 2, and there was something else that happened to you, when you were 10, and there was this message that you got, and this is what your mom said, and this is what your dad says, you got to take all of that stuff off. And then this is what you think about yourself when you look in the mirror. You know what I'm saying? This is what your teacher said about you. This is what your best friend said about you. This is what your man said about you, And so like taking all of this and all of that and all of this and all of that, right? So it's all kinds of layers. And then once we dig up all that stuff, we might find out that it's a relationship problem. So we dig up the relationship stuff, and then we might find out you have an issue with food. And so then we dig up that stuff, right? You know what I'm saying? And then you're like, I thought we were here to talk about money and business. And I'm like, oh, we are. And you're like, oh, that's right. I just made a bunch of money this week. Oh, I just went to sleep and woke up with all this money in my bank account. Like, and I mean, like I have had clients literally like go to sleep and wake up with 500% more money in their bank account, like that. When last week we were talking about your issues with food, and you're like, I didn't realize that food and money were related. They are. We needed that relief. I promise you. So it's really like what I'm really about, why I'm a wholeness coach, is because my mission in life is freedom. It's freedom. It's freedom from oppression, especially in our community as Black women, because we've got historical trauma, all kinds of like oppression that's come from kind of all sides and all directions. And really, if you take out like racism, right? The biggest difference between successful people and unsuccessful people, or people that are struggling to reach the kind of success they want to experience, is information. It's information, and it is releasing all of the things that are blocking you. Because money and abundance and success and love, they're always trying to come to you because they are everywhere. They're everywhere. Like there is an infinite supply of money in the world. So money isn't like scarce in your life. You just have something that's blocking it out from trying to get to you. So money is literally like knocking on your door all the time. And you're like either opening the door like, hey, come on in, or you're like, nah, I'm good.
Right.
Like those are the two things that you do. And so the question is, which one are you doing? And if you're telling money to go away, then what is that? What's causing that? Because once you release it, it can flow easily. Yes. And so that's really the goal, is like, okay, let me just take out all the stuff that doesn't belong there. And then everything can just flow. And then it's easy, right? It's not about grinding. It's not about hard work. It's not about striving, you know? Like, I mean, I've literally like had one client, like a prospective client, for example, one time, I had an enrollment conversation and it wasn't successful. And I did not allow that to block me. And so I was like, you know what? Money is abundant. Clients are abundant. God's going to send me the perfect person. The next morning I was on my way to the pool. I wasn't even working. And I got a phone call from somebody who paid me in full. I had to pull over my car to sign her up and take her money. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, I went from like, oh, this situation didn't work out, which in some cases would block people, it would cause disappointment, discouragement, it would lower their vibe, right? And stuff like that, cause them to feel like a failure and trigger all this negativity. But because I understand how money works, I understand how abundance works, I understand manifesting what you believe and what you want, then I was just like, I'm good. And the next morning, bam, just like that, thousands of dollars in 30 minutes. Like,
nice. I love it.
You know what I'm saying? It wasn't even hard. And that it doesn't have to be, you know, like I've manifested like $11,000 doing nothing. And that was just like in the past couple months. So that's really the kind of ease and flow that you can create when you move towards wholeness and you become more whole. And then you're like, not only do I have more money, but like everything else in my life is better. Like,
so it sounds like it sounds like from what you said, this is what I got really quickly.
Yes.
Becoming whole is about releasing.
Yes.
And releasing things and being free, releasing yourself from the baggage, things that are holding you back.
Yes.
From getting what you really desire in this world, right?
Yes.
So
which is already trying to get to you, you know?
Right. Wow. Okay. So, all right. So now you are speaking on January 3rd.
Yes.
I'm sure it's January 3rd. And the title of your session is The A Factor: How to Stop Self-Sabotage and Speed Towards Success.
Yes.
I think that, wow, like I'm going to be honest, like before we spoke, I didn't realize how deep you were and how deep what you're going to be, you know, sharing with the women that come to your session is, you know, I didn't realize how deep it was. But I see what you're saying about releasing and having the freedom to actually receive. It almost reminds me of, you know, how they say, like, before you bring more stuff into your life, you have to clear out the old stuff.
Yes.
Right? Is that similar to what you're saying? Because that's what I'm getting. I'm getting like, you have to let stuff go if you want new stuff to come in.
Oh, girl, that's part of it. That's not all of it, but that's definitely part of it. That's definitely a very important part of it. Cool. Yeah, that's one part of it for sure.
Okay, cool. Right, part of it. Okay, good.
Yes.
So if you want more of Jessica and you want to have, you know, that wholeness, that freedom, that, you know, it just seems like everything, you know, and kind of get to the core root of some blockages that you have in your business and your life. Come check her out at the summit. She'll be there January 3rd. I'm almost sure it's January 3rd.
Yes, it's January 3rd.
Yeah,
12:30 p.m. Eastern time.
Okay, yes. And so let me ask you this, because you went over a lot, but I just want to make sure you did. You really did. You gave it's a lot to think about, which is good. You know what I mean? Just because I think sometimes people do separate, okay, my money issues, my business issues, even my professional life, things that happen in my career, they're not connecting it with what happened to them when they were a kid, or they're not connecting it with some, internal personal stuff. They're just, we just separate it. We just separate it.
Yeah.
But it does. I can say for myself as a business owner, once I went and did my business full time and left corporate America, I even noticed, okay, the personal things that I had kind of been putting off when I was working in corporate world that I could just kind of put to the side and deal with at 6 p.m. Now that I'm working full time for myself, some of these, because now I have the freedom to, it's just more open. It's weird. It's more open. I had to address all those personal issues if I wanted my business to succeed and move forward.
Yeah.
It's important.
Yeah.
So I'm excited that you're speaking, Jessica.
Me too.
And so is there anything that you want to leave us with?
What do I want to leave you with? I would say, I know I'm like, oh, I said so many things. Like, what can I pull out myself? Like,
okay, so wait a minute. So the A factor, how to stop self-sabotage and speed towards success. So why did you choose that title, and why did you want to share this, like, that information? Why self-sabotage?
Yeah, absolutely. So I work with, like I said, entrepreneurs. And what I found is that there are entrepreneurs taking courses all the time, signing up for this course, that course, downloading every freebie, like doing all the things. Like entrepreneurs, they have, like, people like to call it shiny object syndrome, right? Like they see one thing and they're like, ooh, let me find out about Instagram. Ooh, let me find out how to get on YouTube. Ooh, let me find out how to do Facebook groups. Ooh, let me jump on TikTok, even though I don't know what it is. Ooh, let me buy this course and sign up for this coach and that coach and whatever. And before they know it, it's their first year and they've spent $20,000 and they have made 200 and or whatever. Or they take a course from a coach and the coach is excellent and the course is excellent and they still are not where they want to be by the end of it. And the reason is because it's not because they don't know what to do. It's not because they don't know what to do. It's because they're not doing it. And so the question is, what's the gap between knowing what to do and actually doing it? Like T. Harv Eker says, the way that you know it is if you're living it. And so if you're taking course after course and you're going to class after class and you're downloading this thing and that thing, but you're not actually implementing, then the problem isn't lack of information. So the question is, why is it that you're taking the information and you're not implementing it? Or when you do implement it, it's not working out for you, even if you're doing everything that you're being told to do. And when that's the case, it's because you have an internal subconscious block that you haven't dealt with that's creating that stoppage for you. And so like I talk to entrepreneurs that are in like courses that I've taken, because of course I invest in courses, every coach needs a coach. And so I talk to other women and participants that are in the coaching programs that I'm in. And they're like, oh yeah, I haven't posted anything about my business this week. And I'm like, oh, why not? And they're like, oh, because, and then they give me all these reasons why they haven't done it. Or, oh, because this, because that, right? But reasons are just
reasons.
They're just reasons, right? Like you can have reasons or you can have results. You can't have both, right? And so they have reasons and they don't have results. And I'm like, okay. And this shows up, right? It shows up in relationships. Why don't you have the relationship you want? You got all kinds of reasons. It shows up in your health. How come you don't have the health or the body or whatever that you want? You've got all these reasons, right? And the reason isn't you don't know what to do.
Right.
It's not that you don't know what to do. There is so much information available to you. You can Google literally everything and you can find 99% of it. Most of it is free, right? And so like, it's not knowing, it's the not doing. And so really wholeness and the A factor that I'm going to talk about this week are the gap. That's the bridge between the knowing it and the doing it. Because when you know it, but you don't do it, that means internally something in you doesn't want to do it.
Right.
And so if there's something in you that doesn't want to do it, then there's something in you that doesn't want to be successful. And so then the question is, what is that? And so then what I do is I find, what is that? And most of the time you don't know what it is. And if you do know what it is, you don't know how to fix it. And so what I do is I help you, I pinpoint it and I say, oh, it's this thing that happened to you when you were 5. or it's this thing that you've been resisting, or it's this thing that you believe about yourself, or it's this relationship that you're in that is bringing you down, or it's this thing, or it's that thing, or whatever. And this is what's in the gap. And so I bridge the gap between the knowing and the doing. And I do that by like pinpointing what's the problem. And then we release and we restore you to wholeness wherever it is that you're broken that's causing that break in between those two things. And so that's why I chose it, because I find so many entrepreneurs, they have access to information, but then they take the information, they don't do what they need to do with it, and they don't implement at the highest levels that are really going to get them, you know, that millionaire status that they're trying to get to, or that vacation that they want to take, or that life they want to create for their kids, or that generational wealth, or whatever it is, or their spiritual vision they want to create in the world. They're not creating it. They're not executing and manifesting at the highest level. And it's because there's a gap. It's because there's something in the middle that's broken for them. And so I'm like, okay, I don't need to be the person that's like giving them all the business strategies. I need to be the person that makes sure they implement so that they can create what they want to create in the world and in their lives. So that's why I chose the A factor, and that's why I decided to work on this. So
okay, yes. So listen, just register. That's all I'm gonna say. I don't have anything else to say. Just register. For the summit, it's January 1st to the 3rd. Jessica will be speaking on the 3rd. Just register. Also, Jessica, make sure that you put your business information in the comments of this post.
Absolutely.
So people can reach out to you if they, need help.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so we're excited, guys. Just like I said before, just register. Jessica, thank you so much. Looking forward to seeing you on the 3rd.
Yay.
And we're going to get to the root of the problem.
Yes.
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 Thank you so much, Jessica. And guys, talk to you later, guys. Hold on, Jessica.